You're listening to the Visibly Fit podcast. Hey, I'm your host, Wendy Pett, and every week I'll give you holistic, practical solutions for everyday issues related to nutrition, healing, functional fitness, and behavior modifications. As a naturopath, fitness expert, and wellness coach for over 20 years, my goal is to empower you to reach for greater health and to rise up to your next level of living in mind, body, and spirit. You were created with greatness in mind. It's time to own it. Are you with me? Then let's dive in. Hello and welcome to the Visibly Fit podcast. I'm your host, Wendy Pett. If you struggle trying to find healthy choices of foods to eat, prepared foods to eat, then you're not alone because there aren't too many out there. Trust me, there are not. Most of them are full of salt, oil, sugar, and other hidden chemicals and fillers and you name it, just for that shelf life to work for them. And so I found a company that I became an ambassador with, and I love them so much, not just the food, but also the people that are behind the scenes and started this company. So today I have on the show Mark Gossman. And although entrepreneurship isn't for everyone, it was a great path for him. Amidst the ongoing debates on whether to be your own boss or work for someone else, he firmly believed that the most important factor is the way you present yourself. Mark's journey began with taking control of what he could manage, his actions, his work ethic, and leaving college despite the negative feedback Mark received from others. He got that negative feedback, but then he knew he was destined for success in a unique way. And he has achieved just that throughout multiple different types of careers. But throughout his career, he's been involved in numerous business ventures with a primary focus on real estate projects, including commercial and new home builds. However, what he finds most fulfilling is working with people and helping them overcome their challenges. And after experiencing a major health scare, he began researching the horrible standard American diet and the food that most people consume. It was shortly after a friend's successful transformation, after switching to a whole food plant-based lifestyle, that it caught Mark's attention. He decided to explore this further, and you're going to hear about this on the show, and dive right in. And he can say confidently that it has a direct impact on his overall health. He is the CEO of a plant-based meal delivery service, and he's eager to help others be more mindful of how they fuel their bodies. He loves the Lord. He's very, very passionate. You'll hear this in the interview, but I'm so grateful to be an ambassador to this company. So enjoy the show. Well, Mark, we are so excited to have you on Visibly Fit today. Welcome.
Well, thank you so much. I'm glad to be here. Excited.
Yeah, this is great. Where are you and what part of the world right now?
So I am just north of Denver, Colorado, where the weather is starting to turn to snow here in a couple days.
Right? Already. Here we go, winter. Yeah. No avoiding. Well, cool. Well, I had the pleasure of meeting you and your amazing staff and family, if you will, at the International Plant-Based Nutrition Healthcare Conference where I was speaking and just fell in love with you guys. And obviously it was the Spirit of the Lord too that drew us together, but just love the mission that you're on. And so I'm like, okay, tell me more and how can I become an ambassador? And I'm all in. But most people listening may not know about Whole Harvest and what they're all about. But I want to hear about you, Mark, and what drove you as the CEO of Whole Harvest to do this incredible work that you're doing out there. Let's hear who you are and your story first.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I've always been an entrepreneur. I mean, my entire life, literally since I was 12. And from running lawn services and, in the neighborhood and doing all kinds of things, fundraisers and things like that, door to door. So I've always loved businesses that help people in different ways. But I spent the majority of my career in real estate and not helping people buy homes, but building properties and and really geared more towards small businesses. So I kind of a passion for working with small businesses. I kind of run in these 10-year cycles, it seems like. And a few years ago, I had a little event happen to me, a little health event that kind of changed my direction.
Mm.
And so that's how Whole Harvest was born. And I'll just give you the quick backstory, so
Yeah.
you know
What's
where
this
we're
health
coming from.
event? Yes.
So I'm going to start. It's really Whole Harvest was born out of the experiences of two guys, myself and my business partner, Mike, and our experiences with heart disease differently. His story is a bit more dramatic, so I always tell that first. And basically, my friend Mike, I've known him for over 30 years, very healthy guy, invisibly healthy. You went to the gym every single day, and he didn't have the best diet, but man, the guy looked good. Like he
Look
was in
good.
good shape. But
Hmm.
one day he's driving home from the gym and he starts to get chest pains. And when he got home, they get worse. And so he's thinking, gosh, did I work out too hard or could I be having a heart attack? So he gets back in his car and he drives himself to the hospital. Sure enough, he's having a heart attack.
Wow.
Well, two stents later, he's talking to his cardiologist, and the cardiologist says, "Hey, Mike, you got to clean up your diet. I know you're in good shape and all, but this pizza and Diet Coke thing you've got going on doesn't really work." And he's like, "I get it. Yes, I just had a heart attack. I'll do whatever you tell me to do." So doc said, "Hey, get more fruits and vegetables, nuts and seeds into your life." It was essentially a modified standard American diet recommendation. And so he did, and he followed that for about a year, and then the same thing. Chest pains, back in the hospital, third stent going in. So now he's thinking, gosh, this isn't really working for me. So he started to do his own research, and he found forks over knives when they came out about 12 years ago, actually.
Hmm.
And then he started following Dr. Esselstyn's work and Dr. Campbell's work, and he went all in on a whole food, plant based, no oil diet. Very strict. Like to this day, 12 years later, you can't go to a restaurant with the guy because he will not touch oil. So the good news is he's in his late 50s, he's in the best shape of his life, and he's reversed his heart disease. He's had no further problems. It's amazing. So I come into the picture a few years ago in 2019 when I woke up in the middle of the night and my whole left side was numb. And so I get out of bed and I'm like, oh gosh, what's going on? It's like 2:33 in the morning, trying to shake it off. And I think, gosh, am I having a stroke?
And you're
So
young.
later, yeah, I know, right? And then so later that morning, I go into the hospital and I get the MRI, right? And oh, no signs of a stroke. I said, yeah, something else is going on. I need to push. Maybe it's heart related. And so I find a cardiologist and I do all the normal tests, the stress test, the carotid artery test, all the standard things, and said, yeah, I want to go a little further. I want to see what the inside of my arteries actually look like. So we did the CT scan where you go into the tube and they inject barium into your veins and can see all the inner workings. And yeah, sure enough, I have plaque buildup. No
Mm.
blockages, but buildup. And I'm 51 at the time. So I'm like, yeah, I better start paying attention to this because I don't want to end up like my friend Mike with 2 heart attacks. So Mike said,
Soft plaque or hard plaque? Soft.
soft plaque, I believe. Yeah, I'm
Just
not a
curious.
doctor, so I can
Yeah.
find that out. But so Mike said, "Hey, do this no oil, whole food, plant based thing." I'm like, "Okay, I'll give it a shot." So I'm one of these guys that I have to prove that it works. So I went and took my labs on the front end, right? And then I start eating this way for 3 weeks, really strict. Well, at the end of the 3 weeks, I had lost 12 pounds. I had more energy than I knew what to do with. And then I took my labs, and lo and behold, my cholesterol dropped 40 points. All of my numbers are adjusting, like in just 3 weeks. And my blood pressure is lower. I mean, all of the things. So it's like, wow, this
Amazing.
really
Yeah.
works. I know it's amazing. And it's so simple, but yet difficult. So what I found difficult as a busy person, running multiple businesses and running around, and it's hard to do it. It's hard to make time to do all the meal planning and the prepping and the chopping and the shopping and blah, 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 the packaging. And my wife loves to cook, Stephanie, but I don't really like to cook all that much. But we're both really busy. So I called Mike up and I said, gosh, how do we make this easier for people to do? Because this is a big barrier to entry for me and probably tens of thousands of others or millions,
Sure.
right? So we started Whole Harvest in 2020 in the midst of the pandemic. And luckily we were fully funded. We got to take our time. We didn't have to worry about making payroll. We tested different chefs and different cuisines and different delivery methods. And we essentially live tested the company at a local level for about a year. And then we started shipping nationally across the country in, I think, January of 2022. Later that year, we got a call from Dr. Dean Ornish. I think you know.
Yes.
And Dr. Ornish was looking for someone to do the meals for his current clinical study on reversing Alzheimer's disease. So we had the privilege of making all the meals for all the cohorts for the last year of that study. It's now over and he's getting ready to publish at
Can't
some
wait
point.
to see it.
I know, me neither.
Yeah.
And I know nothing about it, unfortunately, but and then we started making the meals for the Ornish Reversing Heart Disease program. And that is super rewarding. It's a 9-week program. It's all virtual. We provide the meals for them, all of the meals they eat for the first 2 weeks. So what happens is they start to eat these meals, and then a couple of weeks later, they're feeling kind of the same results that I had. Wow, I'm starting to feel better, and I'm getting motivated to learn how to do this for myself, which is the objective, right? So that led us down this path of working with, just a whole bunch of lifestyle medicine providers like yourself and others, and just really helping their patients and helping the people that are closest to our heart, no pun intended, but
Yeah. Yeah.
love helping
But pun
people.
intended.
Yeah, pun intended.
Yeah.
We love helping people that are either reversing a chronic disease or they're really worried about getting one, right? And
Yeah.
that's so prevalent today, as you know.
So
So
good. Yes. Well,
yeah,
I
that's
know
why
you.
we do what we do.
Yes, and I know we had a serious conversation because the Visibly Fit program is a 7-week program that I've been doing for many, many years, and the results are phenomenal. But you and I kind of had this kind of duke it out talk because I'm like, I don't want to enable people. I want them to learn, and then I bring in, the foods, right?
Yeah.
That's already prepared for them. And you're like, yeah, okay, but what if you flip it? And I'm like, I don't know. So I'm really massaging that detail and being a little more open to that because either way, it's a win, right?
Yeah,
I want it to
it is.
be easier for my patients as well. And so thank you for kind of, attacking that with me and helping me see it differently. But I am going to hold up the meals because I have, this is my second order, and my husband and I, excuse me, we travel a lot. We're busy. And it's just kind of nice, like sometimes not to have to cook. And so I'm, a big fan of putting half of the plate raw, beautiful salad, and then
Yep.
your main part of your meal, right? Well, these are like huge meals. This is like for two,
Yeah. They're big.
and
Yeah.
they're huge. And so it's just nice to come home to something and you can freeze them and they're so yummy. And I've worked with several different partners and I am an ambassador with you. And
Yeah.
I'm grateful to say that. And I love that you love Jesus. I love that we have that spiritual connection as well. But it's just so nice to be able to have incredible quality food, SOS, sugar, oil, and salt free. And
Yep.
yet it tastes amazing. It tastes good. Let's talk about the trials and errors that maybe you had to, the hurdles you had to jump in order to make this food taste the way it does. Because quite frankly, a lot of the players out there are not, their foods aren't as tasty, in my opinion.
Yeah. Well, we're lucky to have an amazing culinary director, Will Harris, and he's an executive chef from Fine Dining. And he also was instrumental in starting True Food Kitchen back in the day with Dr. Weil when that started. It's a decade ago.
Wow.
But we have a very creative team. And so we're taking really restaurant quality meals and then modifying them a little because, when you put them in a package and ship them across the country, you have to do things a little differently. And yes, we've done a lot of trial and error, and we've learned a lot of lessons just in the last couple of years. One of our biggest challenges was shelf life. So prior to the package you just received, we would send out a similar tray of food with just a lid seal on it. And the freshness, you'd get maybe 5 days out of it. And just like if you made something at home, right? You make dinner at home and you save the leftovers and you can get 4 or 5 days out of it. So It's a challenge though when you ship them across the country and it takes a day or two to get to you, and then now you only have maybe 3 days left to eat them. So that was a big lesson that we learned. We made an enormous investment, almost $1 million in packaging equipment just a few months ago. And it just went online. And yes, you showed the package. I've
Yeah,
got
it's
my
like
lunch.
vacuum sealed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is my lunch for today. It's the lentil loaf, which is
Awesome.
amazing. And these are all good sized meals. Like you said, they're about a pound of food each. But the packaging is key. So it will remove all the oxygen from around the food and then vacuum seals it. And then you get a shelf life of up to 14 days. So when you receive the meals, depending on when they were, made in the cycle, you'll have generally from 5 to 11 days to consume them or put them in the freezer. The other good news is they freeze really well
Right.
because you don't have the oxidization, say that word. It doesn't crystallize and get all the yucky stuff when you put it in the freezer. So I've had a meal like this in the freezer for 6 months, and it looks exactly like I. So it's a good way to stock up. It's like you say, it's a convenience play, right? It's if you don't have time to cook or if you just need a break. And
Right.
we run into people all of the time on some of our programs that are, in their like 60s, 65, 70. They're like, I'm just done cooking. I don't want to do it anymore. I'm just done. So they order more meals from us than the average person.
Yeah.
But it's really meant to, really be a subsidy,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
a tool for you during the week. Whether that's your biggest problem is lunch or dinner or both. You can get breakfast, lunch, and dinner, of course. But going back to what you were talking about before, that transition, our little healthy debate there. I'm debating this from hundreds of people that we started on this 21-day program, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the difference between the two groups, one had the food before and one had the food after a couple of weeks. The success rate on the people that got the food initially was higher
Sure.
because they're already going through so many changes, so many lifestyle changes. And cooking is probably the last thing I want to do.
Sure. I
Give
even
me
had
these
patients
recipes.
that either don't know how to cook or they're a little bit older, like you mentioned, and they've
Yeah,
actually gotten rid of a lot of their kitchen tools and pots and pans.
gadgets.
Actually, they just eat out all the time. So,
Yeah,
yeah,
which is not good.
no, at all. Mm-mm.
Yeah, so I mean, I think what we've found is the just that immersion for the first 2 or 3 weeks, and whether you are just transitioning into this way of eating or you've kind of fallen off track, right? It's a good way to get back on track. You immerse yourself for 2 to 3 weeks, you get back on track, your taste buds get realigned, you start to see some results, you start to feel them,
Feel
right?
them.
And
Mm-hmm.
now, gosh, I'm motivated again to do some cooking, maybe or I'm definitely motivated to make some healthier choices, because I've kind of cleansed my palate and I'm getting off that salt and sugar that we're bombarded with every day.
Oh, yeah, and that all that oil. So that's good. So thank you for challenging me on that. I appreciate it. And I do have several patients in Canada, so I know they're going to say, when, Mark, can we get this into
Yeah,
Canada?
good question. I don't know the answer to that. We right now we have so much going on here that it's hard to keep up, and we're just getting ready to open our first restaurant in Kansas City in about
Wait, I
3
didn't
weeks.
know this.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Congratulations.
Whole Harvest Kitchen. It's the first of hopefully 50 to 60 across the country. And it is legit. Like no oil, low sodium. I mean, the same kind of parameters, but the food made fresh is, it's different, right?
Yes,
When you
totally.
can make something fresh and plate it and hand it to you right there. I mean, it's amazing. So we've been doing tastings for the last 4 to 6 weeks on the final menu, and oh my gosh, the pizzas that they're going to make are blow your mind.
Okay, this is
Three
so exciting.
ingredient dough that's single sourced. It's just amazing and healthy.
Healthy.
No
Yes,
oil,
yes.
no
And you
cheese,
don't
no.
have to worry about even, having a substitute or, hold the oil, hold this.
Yeah,
It's all going to be SOS free. And you being from Minnesota, Woodbury,
yeah,
Minnesota, I know there's going to be a few Whole Harvest restaurants here, right?
definitely.
Good. I
There's
hope so.
definitely room in the Twin Cities for some full harvest kitchen restaurants. That's for sure.
Yes. Oh, that's fantastic. Well, I am happy to hear that. Then everyone will have a safe place to go and not have to worry
Yeah,
about it.
for a night out, right? Or just a change,
Yeah.
change in venue.
Yeah. Full on plantricious certified,
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
With my friend
Yep,
Paige.
yep,
That's
yep.
so cool. Well, I love what you're doing, Mark. What would you say is your favorite meal? So I know there's so many
You
good ones,
know,
but it's
I
an
have
opinion thing.
several. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I have several. So like today, it's kind of cloudy and high of like 45 degrees or so. So like this lentil loaf I grabbed out of the refrigerator because like, oh, this is a good hearty comfort dish to have today.
Yeah.
I don't have any specific favorites, strangely
You're
enough,
supposed
but
to say I love them all. They're all my favorite.
well, I do.
Like children.
No, I mean, I
They're
shouldn't
all my
say
favorite.
that because, everybody, that's the thing. You're not going to love everything that we do because we're all so different, right?
Right.
So tastes are different. So we do have a nice selection that you can find. Generally, what happens, people find a few of the things that they like and then they just order them over and over again. And then we switch up the menu and they find some new ones and that's how it works. But
Yeah. It's
yeah,
so good. And the way you use the spices is I think what makes it so unique and so tasty and it's like, oh my goodness. I mean, I don't know that I could have made it that great. It's just really that good and good quality. So I appreciate all that you're doing. Regarding just personal life, let's talk because I'm a Jesus girl. We talked a little bit about our faith. Let's talk about your faith for a moment, if you don't mind,
sure.
as we are, talking about food and faith and how this is the temple of the Holy Spirit, right? And we're to care
Yeah.
for it. It's the one and only body that we get. How does your faith intertwine with this business?
I think it was a huge factor in just moving this direction, right? I
Yeah.
mean, just having, I kind of, like I said, I go in these 10-year cycles or 10 to 12-year cycles, and I was kind of ending the one in 2020, and that changed a lot of things for a lot of people, but in 2020, but I just felt like the kind of the last big project that I do. I'm 56 years old, and I've got a few more years to go. But the last big one, I really want to make an impact. And I
Mm,
felt like I was just being called to, serve people in this way. And yeah, I mean, Jesus is a big part of it.
it's
I
beautiful.
ask for his help every day
Yeah.
and need it.
Yeah.
So yeah, the story sticks with me that just with that from talking with Dr. Scott Stoll at the Plantrician Project
Uh-huh.
conference a month ago. We're standing around. It's Stephanie, my wife, Lauren, my daughter, and myself, and we're talking to Scott. And he's like, "Gosh," and we're saying, "This is such a great group, right? It's an amazing group. Like the energy, the feeling, it's just so warm, the whole place." And he said, "Yeah, last year we had someone say something similar. That this lady from South Carolina, and she said, I just feel something special here. It's just so
Mm,
strange." And Scott said, "That's God's grace.
yeah.
Feeling God's grace." And she said, "Well, I don't really believe in God." And he said, "That's okay. God's grace is still with you." Like, oh my gosh, it's just stuck with me since then.
Yeah. No, that's so cool. The impact that we get to make just by showing up and letting um, God's light shine through us, right? And
Yeah.
and whether someone knows the Lord or doesn't, they still feel His grace and His love, and
Yes.
we're to be, light, salt, and light. We're
Yeah.
not to. We don't need to eat the salt, but we can be
Right.
the salt and light. Yeah. So this is so good, Mark. I love it. Well, what do you and your wife and Lauren just got married
Yes.
recently? So
Yeah. Yep.
congratulations
Got a
about
new
that. She's so
son-in-law.
precious. What do you guys like to do for fun? You're in Colorado. Are you skiers?
Yes, we lived up in the mountains for 11 years. We lived in Breckenridge for a while, and we lived in Steamboat out on a ranch. And
Nice.
yep, skied a lot. And the second half of that was that 10, 11 years was in Steamboat. So we did a lot of outdoor activities. So we did ski, but it kind of transferred into, I guess, from skiing into like rural life. So we had a 100-acre ranch, we had horses, we had chickens, we had We had cows. We had everything. And
Wow.
and a
Do you
bunch of
miss
barn.
it?
Kind of. It was a lot of work, but we really loved it. Like we loved being around the animals. We loved the process. We loved just everything about it. So we did a lot of horseback riding and just working kind of pretend cowboy, cowboy wannabe stuff,
I love it.
which is crazy.
Well, in Steamboat, you have to be a cowboy, right?
Yeah. There's, I'll throw you a picture. Here's Stephanie and I in front of our.
Oh, I love it. In the photo, if you're not watching on YouTube, make sure you check this out and check out the photo of Mark and his wife Stephanie on the horses. That's fantastic. Love it.
So we do that, and then we still do that a little bit. We go up there, and then ski and all the hiking. We love hiking, and
Yeah.
there's just some amazing stuff out here. So you'll have to. Wow. Are you coming out to ACLM?
I will not, I don't believe, but my son lives in Aurora, so I will
Oh,
be
he
out there.
does. Oh,
Yeah,
nice.
that's right.
Okay.
He's at
Great.
the Buckley Space Force.
Oh,
So
wow.
yeah. So I'm
You
sure
told
my
me.
husband and I will be out, so we will give you a call for
Yeah.
sure.
Awesome.
But thank you. Thank you for all that you're doing. Thank you
Yeah.
for,
Thank you.
doing the deeper research, if you will, to find out how can we make this not a problem in our society and be solution oriented. I mean, that's what entrepreneurs do, right? They want to
Yeah.
help people solve problems, and that's the way you're wired. And so I'm so grateful you're in this space, and I'm grateful to be an ambassador. And so those of you that are listening and you're wanting to try Whole Harvest, definitely go to wholeharvest.com/visiblyfit and use coupon code visiblyfit, all caps, all together, and you will save $30 on your first order. So definitely do that, and you will be pleasantly surprised. But Mark, God bless you, friend. And I know we will
Thank
be in
you.
touch, and this isn't the last time I'll be seeing you.
Yeah. Sounds good. Well, thanks for having me, and I loved it. And keep up the good work as well.
Thank you. All right. God bless. Take care.
God bless. Bye bye.
All right. Don't say I never gave you anything. That was a great interview, right? Just to learn about whole food, plant-based, prepared meals, that they are out there. There are some good ones out there, you guys. And I've tried a lot because I'm on the go. I want to make sure I have something when I return from being, gone traveling, that kind of thing. And I wanted to really have something really solid for my patients. So I've tried several different companies, but I love Whole Harvest. So if you are looking for a solution in that area, make sure you go to wholeharvest.com/visiblyfit. Use coupon code visiblyfit, all in caps, all as one word, and receive your $30 off of your meals. Now, if you are looking for a full holistic health solution and program, make sure you go to wendypett.com or getvisiblyfit.com, and let's get started today. I have a 7-week program that does include some of the Whole Harvest meals as well as part of our program. But remember, being visibly fit is more than just the food. It's the movement. So it's the exercise, it's the mindset, it's the spiritual walk, it's the emotional release. There's so much to being healthy, whole, and complete. This is just one part of the equation, but I love who Whole Harvest is, and Mark is just wonderful. His whole family is involved, and it's just a beautiful, beautiful company. And again, they're from Minnesota, so how could I not support them? And they love Jesus, so that's good too. Anyway, check that out. Again, the website will be in the show notes. But again, if you are ready to get started on your own journey and have accountability and a community of women that are keeping you accountable as well to do this with, definitely go to wendypett.com or getvisiblyfit.com, and we will get you started right away. All right. God bless. And we will catch you next week right here on Visibly Fit. Make it a great day.
Well, that's a wrap for today's show, so thank you so much for tuning in. I love spending this time with you. To learn more and get more free resources, just head on over to wendypett.com, and thank you in advance for sharing this episode and this podcast, following and subscribing, not only to this podcast, but finding me on social media, Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, wherever you are, I'm probably there too. Until next week and our next podcast time together, make it a visibly fit day.